We're snorting cap rates and shooting up cash flow here at Deal Junkies. Welcome back to Deal Junkies.
He's laughing already.
All right, guys, this is a special episode for you. I'm Gabe Johansson here in the studio with Mike Nuss and Trevor Howard. We have a very special guest in the studio with us today. He needs no introduction. I think every podcast that we've recorded so far, we've mentioned this person who's in the studio with us.
You've never listened to any episodes, have you, Paul?
Actually, what do you want to hear? No.
Tell us the truth. That's why we talk about you so much, because we know you don't listen.
All of the time.
Yeah, so Paul's our hero. Paul Kerley's in the studio. Paul, thanks for being with us today. Say, I'm happy to be here with you guys. Tell us you enjoy this, Paul.
I'm not used to this, so I'm not enjoying this. So there.
He's enjoying it.
Paul's wearing a striped shirt, and it's triggering Mike's pineal gland. A little bit. Is that a good thing?
Well, I think it's more than that. It's it's Paul. He's
it's his energy.
Human being. His energy's coming in. He manipulates the air in the way that he.
If you don't believe that people give off energy, hang out with Paul.
Exactly.
Because people definitely give off energy. Paul gives off an energy unlike any other that I've met. Anyway, so. What are we going to talk about, guys?
Are we going to talk about real estate or energy?
Well, I don't know. We always start about real estate, and then we move into energy somehow.
Actually, real estate is all energy.
Mm-hmm. Aren't you the godfather of the spiritual principles of real estate?
Actually, I have my own beliefs on that, and I've been expounding that, and every time I talk to Gabe, I hear spiritual principles, but it's all spiritual principles. The key to making money in real estate, there's a spiritual principle here. It's all in your head. It's the right thoughts. It's the right thinking. It's success thinking. Push my buttons and I'll take off. But it's a story of life. But when you're in real estate and you're pushing the envelope and you're kind of living on the edge, and if your head deviates either way, your head impacts what happens to you almost instantly, directly.
So how do you handle that? Let's say you're losing millions of dollars, everything's going wrong. How do you keep your head on right?
I've been doing this for 45 years. Bear with me. And there's times when I've literally had the power in my hands and everything worked. It was all magical. Then there's other times when I'm working harder and I can't hang on to it. Nothing works. What's the difference? It all comes down to my head. It all comes down to my attitude. So when life around you is going to shit, it's real simple. You got to change your head. You got to change your attitude. You got to change the way you're looking at it. Instead of looking at it negatively, like things are going to shit, believe, and you got to go deep within and change your head, change your thought, and slowly, step by step, things will get better.
So when you're in a downward spiral, it's a very difficult thing to change your head. Do you have a secret of how you do it? Are you in a downward spiral right now, or do you have the magic in your hands?
I'm trying to figure that out.
Does it feel like you can hold it right now, or does it feel like it's slipping through your grasp?
I've been in a recession for the last 2 years. I've had a lot of vacancy. I've done a lot of work to get to get my units rented, and I just seem to be holding my own. And I'm running at about 11% vacancy, which is just driving me crazy. So where is my head in all of this? And I am working overtime. I get up every morning and I spend I've done a lot of different head exercises, and they all have their place. But I get up every morning and I spend an hour meditating this Chinese spring forest qigong. And what a pain in the ass that is, but I don't have a choice. Because it settles my head, it makes me connected to the ground, it makes me energized, it makes me feel good. How do you know? I'm on a roll here. I have bid it twice, and we haven't talked about this. The first time, nothing worked. I almost went into bankruptcy, and I fought, and I changed my head, and I pulled myself out of it. And I went within, and I went deep, and I realized I did it to myself with negative thinking, insecure, fear, all of those negative attributes. So I bebop along. I'm going to roll here, aren't I?
Oh, keep it going.
You're doing good.
Just bebop along. Let's go.
And I did it to myself again. Okay, guys, I've done this once, and I know about my head, and I know about positive thinking, but I'm in deep shit again. This time I didn't fight it. This time I understood what was happening to me, and this time I worked through it. So, and I'm positive. I'm doing the right things. Except, can I suggest to you, and this is something we've never talked about, that I just came to realization just, a couple months ago. It's not enough, if you're living on the edge and you're really trying to manifest big things like real estate, it's not enough to be positive. You got to keep yourself energized. You got to put positive energy. You got to energize your positive thinking. So what's the bottom line there? How do you energize your positive thinking? How do you make magic happen at a deep, deep level? You're so positive and so energized that you feel good within the core of your being. Are you feeling good? That's really the bottom line. It's just not enough to be positive. Oh yes, I'm gonna grow flowers today.
You gotta be grounded.
Feel good. You gotta resonate within the depth of your soul. Anyway,
So tell us, like, put this to practical application. Right now, you said it's been a recession the last couple of years. I've been saying that anyway, probably because I listen to you all the time. But it's been, especially if you've been in our line of work, it feels like it's been hard the last couple of years. So during that period, as things don't work out as well, are you feeling that energy? How are you keeping your energy high?
this meditation I do in the morning really helps my head. It helps my body, mind, and soul, and I feel good when I'm done with it. The more I'm doing of it, the more I resonate with energy from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet, right into the ground. It makes me feel a lot more grounded.
You talk a lot
Sounds
about
crazy.
You talk about getting into your body, getting into your feet. Can you describe that? What that feels like? Not being lost. I guess you're saying no, don't be lost in your thoughts. Like, don't be in your head, be in your body.
Here I go again. About 10 years ago, I got really sick, and I was so much in my head that if I sat down to start to work, my head would start to explode. Everything was in my head. This meditation that I'm doing is getting me out of my head, into my body, and actually into my feet, being grounded. Now, I know you don't see a lot of change in me, and it's been a little subtle, but I'm a whole lot more grounded than I have been. So being grounded is connecting to the earth, to the universe, to your spirit, to your positive energy. How do you feel deep within your soul? You got to start by being grounded.
You've said before that you're the God of your own universe. Do you really believe that?
Do you really want to hear this? I was single for 20 years, and I got on Match.com, and I started out my profile. Your profile is everything.
You didn't say you were the God of your own universe at the beginning, did you?
I started.
That was your opening line?
I started out, I am God.
Oh, okay.
I know, to this day I almost have it memorized. I am God. Now, I know this approach doesn't fit for everybody.
You just started it, though. It kept going, right?
It didn't say his name. It says, I'm looking for a woman. I am God.
It didn't just stop there, right? Like,
hey, that's an attention grabber. Yeah.
I am the God of my universe.
How did people respond to that?
The ones that responded to it understood it.
yeah.
Or were they crazy?
No, they understood it, and it turned out to be a real good experience. I wanted a real relationship. I wasn't there for fun and games. I wasn't there to get laid. Otherwise, it would have been nice. It never worked out. Are you going to cut that out?
No, we're going to leave that one in.
That part's fine. Yeah.
But what I did, I attracted people who felt like I did, and we'd take one look at each other, and nice people, but we knew we weren't meant for each other. And it's just bore this spiritual energy. I was on it for a year, and I could feel the energy changing, and I could feel there's an energy out there, a being that's going to be coming into my life anytime soon. And one day I got an email from Donna, and it said, "Thanks for being on the universe."
This is your current wife now.
And she saw you on Match.com?
Yes. Thanks for being on.
What year was this? You were online dating? That was a thing back then?
2011.
It's pretty early to the game.
Yeah.
I'm God, so she says, "Thanks for being on the universe."
Yeah.
So I had to respond to that.
Of course.
What'd you say?
And
You're welcome?
And I said, "Thanks for being on the universe. I've been asked to leave the universe, but I've never been thanks for being on the universe." Anyway, I got a lady that thinks the same way I do, and I manifested this by this. You are God. You are the God of your universe. Your universe can be heaven or hell. And when Jesus said heaven or hell is here on earth, he meant it. I've had some drug addicts working for me. Every definition of hell I ever heard, those people were living it right here on this earth. How is your life going for you? You're the God of your universe. Are you creating magic? Is your real estate portfolio working for you? Or is it not? But you're the God of your universe. I am God.
So I think God is a triggering word. And I think that's going to send people down a whole different path. What's your opinion on control? How much control? I understand you have control of your thoughts, and I think that's really what you're getting to when you say you're the God of your universe. Your universe is your head. Your goal is to be in control of your head. That's what I'm projecting. That's what I'm hearing. But we literally have no control in this world when it comes to life. We can only do what we can do, and there's so much that is outside of our control. So there's this inner control and outside control, and I want to hear how your relation to I am God relates to those two things.
Somehow talking like this is a little embarrassing. This is my inner thoughts, and I'll share with you, Gabe, but doing this on a podcast. There's a spiritual principle there. You got to control your own thoughts. You got to do the best you can. But if you put out this positive energy, you can let go.
It's a broker. Answer it.
Are you getting called for a deal right now?
Oh, yeah. All day long.
And I suggest to you, you don't want to be in control. You don't want to hang on too tight.
You don't want to assume you have control. I think a lot of people struggle where they think they can control something, and that causes a train wreck in your head where you believe you are in control. And the reality is yes, you can control the action that you're taking. There are certain things that you can do, but ultimately there's a lot of things out of your control.
You're talking about internal versus external. You can control your own universe based on where your head and your energy's at, but in terms of the outcomes and the things that happen around you, you don't have control.
Yeah, and grounding is a really good word, right? So there's the spiritual side of it. We are in our thoughts. You talked about getting into your body. Another way of looking at getting into your body is getting out of your head. You mentioned your feet. I love to walk barefoot. I golf barefoot. I believe that is a physical grounding component that helps elevate my consciousness to get out of my head. So I think when we're in our head, we're in our brain, we are thinking those are our thoughts, but we are not our thoughts. Elevating our consciousness is like the bridge between our physical body and the thoughts in our head, where we can be in our body, we can understand the physical laws of nature and how that affects our body, but we can also, with our consciousness, recognize our thoughts, hear our thoughts, see our thoughts, reconcile our thoughts. And that's where we live as a being, is in that space in between our brain and our body.
I think you are your thoughts. You told me to read the book Outwitting the Devil, and it's about how you are your thoughts, basically.
It all starts with your thoughts. It leads to your actions and your emotions, your feelings and outcomes.
We're more than our thoughts.
What comes to me, you put your thoughts, You put the energy, this positive energy out there, and then you let go. Don't get too specific about it, and then things just start unfolding for you.
Yeah. And that's the... Go ahead. Well, that's the flow state, the energy portion, and the lack of control, which is all you can control is the energy that you put out and the way that you put it out and the way that you control the inside of you and your consciousness is your expression of energy into the world, right? So then the world mirrors back the energy you're putting into it.
When you're in a downward spiral, it's a lot easier to manifest hell because you can get into that spiral of, life has dealt me a bad hand. Everything goes wrong. The world is harsh and mean. I've got 11% vacancy. We're in a recession. The president doesn't do what I want him to do. Like you can get wrapped up in all these things that you don't have a lot of control over. But it's interesting how you blame your vacancy on on not energizing your positivity.
The first time I went down, this is a little embarrassing, so bear with me, guys. The first time I went down and bid it good, I thought Satan was stronger than God. This lady, I hired this lady to be a regional manager, and she turned out to be a coke addict, and all the people, she ended up hiring managers that were all coke addicts. It was like she had a neon sign, and she held it up there, and I'm hiring coke addicts. Anyway, she would walk into a room. She had such a strong energy about her. As God is my witness, she would walk into the room and the plants would wilt. Now, you guys have heard me talk about this. Everything around her destroyed. And I watched that. I'm on another roll here, so hopefully I'll get to it. I don't even remember what the question was now. The plants would wilt. And a couple different directions here. And I looked at that and I said, I want that. But when I walk into a room, I want the plants to bloom. So I'm looking at her, and how did she do it? First off, she had such a powerful energy about her. I truly, when I was in the throes of it, thought that Satan was stronger than God. This incredible, it was palatable. Everything around me went to shit, or it almost did.
I thought you were God.
I forgot.
That was 2011.
I didn't come to that realization at that point. But what she did, she put out all the negative energy, and she attracted the people just like her. So she had this aura about her. Then the people that grouped in with her had the same aura, and everything went to shit. But what I found with that incredible negative energy, it was strong, it was direct, it was in your face, but it didn't last. The spiritual positive energy that we're talking about is deep, it's real, it's long lasting. So when I thought Satan was stronger than God, it was just momentarily. But in time, I realized where the real power is, and it's within ourselves and our positive aura. Anyway.
Man, do we need to take mushrooms before we bring Paul back on this?
I think we should have Paul.
I got a question for you.
And guys, if anybody is really listening to this, it really does all have to do with real estate.
It's focus. It's where the focus goes, the energy flows. Where the focus
you started by saying real estate is energy. What do you mean by that?
Well, to me, it's still all energy. It's still what you put out there, and what I want to manifest, the tangible asset I want out of it, is real estate. I want to be successful, and I want it all to work, and I want the power in my hands again.
Did marrying Donna help you buy more real estate and make more money, do you feel like?
She got me into this meditation, yes. There's another grouping of the energy with her, yeah.
I hear when you get married, you save a lot of time, and then you have more focus in your life, so then you make way more money and you do more.
This little lady doesn't...
Yeah, he has to make more money because she likes to spend it for him.
But a powerful couple where their energy is aligned and in tuned, and it's not fighting each other. It's not two magnets repelling. It's the opposite sides of the magnets coming together.
And it's positive magnets.
Positive magnet, but creating a bigger energy field, a bigger aura. And if you think of how a magnet works, I mentioned this to Josiah when I was meeting with him, is like, you are a magnet. You're either going to magnetize the side of your magnet that's going to push people away, which can be good for you, could be negative for you, or you're going to magnetize the part of your magnet that's going to pull people in.
Like me.
And that can be positive and that can be negative.
And Paul.
Now who's got the big head? Who thinks they're God?
I'm not God.
Paul,
I'm just a magnet.
But when you have a partnership like that, it could be a business partnership, it could be a couple partnership. You have a bigger magnet, which then puts more energy into the world.
Paul, I'm asking you because should I go get married so I can go buy more real estate? Is that a strategy?
It depends on who you marry.
A partnership can either be positive or negative. It depends on who the partner is.
And most of your partnerships have been negative. You've talked about this before.
If you are tactically wanting to get married and you ignore the energy portion of it, do not do it.
Trevor, if you want to just get laid, just go get laid.
You can also be
Trevor just wants more real estate. He doesn't care about anything else.
No, that's true.
If getting married will get you more real estate, he's going to get married. And if you tell him he have to stay single to get more real estate, that's what he's going to do. What I will say is Paul's net worth has gone up 10x since he married Donna.
Did he meet you, though, around the same time he married Donna?
Oh, yeah, I could take credit for it because I'm a magical partner.
And you just keep building, and that positive energy just keeps building on itself and building on itself. So there's no one aspect here. I just kept going at it.
So, because you've been doing this for 45 years, but you've seen the most explosive growth at the end. Is that just because it's compounded over time, or did you change what you were doing?
No, they've printed more money over time. And this next round is even going to be more fun yet.
So you're excited.
Positive energy.
Is this what's keeping you so excited? Is this what keeping your positivity energized because they're printing so much money?
What the dude?
Mike is lost now.
Why? What excites you about government spending or printing right now?
My whole real estate business philosophy is so simple. It's almost embarrassing. It doesn't matter what your politics are. Our government is broke, facing bankruptcy. Now, you guys have heard all this before, but if you're broke and facing bankruptcy, you got two choices. You can increase your income. Our government, are they going to tax us more? They're not going to increase their income anymore. They can't tax us anymore. Our government, are they going to... the second thing is cut expenses. Our government, with all the wars and all the entitlements, they're not going to cut expenses. They can do something you and I can't do, and that's print money. And if you have the same goods and services and more dollars, the price of everything goes up. But what's fascinating about it, I've got this memorized, can you tell? I don't even have to think. What's fascinating about it, that when it comes to inflation, things go up at different rates. The stuff that goes up the fastest, tangible assets, gold, silver, real estate. Stuff that goes up the slowest is wages. So I've been doing this for 45 years and watching the roles in the economy, and most generally the trend is up. But there's a rare time when they seem to keep printing money, but they shut off the spigot like they've done for the last couple of years, where we don't have a lot of inflation. But don't forget, they're still printing money. And on the other side, when they improve the economy again, somehow they turn on the spigot and real estate just explodes. If they're printing, I'm on another roll here, aren't I? When they were printing new money at the rate of $2 trillion a year, my apartments, not the office, not the ranches, my apartments were doubling on average every 5 years. Now they're printing money at the rate of $4 trillion a year, and did I mention I've got some real good positive energy?
But how much of that increase in value was from the income going up, the actual NOI increasing, versus just the cap rates going down and a compression yield creating appreciation through monetary policy?
Well, all of that technical stuff helps, but the rents have always gone up. I've heard this all my life. Well, yeah, Paul, prices go up and this, that, and the other thing, but people can't afford it. The rents won't go up, but the rents do go up and people do afford it. Wages go up. It's just life on a new level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you buy a unit for $100,000, you've got to make the rent go up $500 and have your expenses stay the same to double the value of your property. And then all of that equity is you can borrow against or sell in 1031, do whatever you're going to do. So you own today around 2,000 doors almost.
Yeah.
And you've gotten into some other asset types. You've been doing you bought a bunch of commercial buildings, a bunch of ranches. Is that you're finding that those asset types are different than multifamily?
Multifamily can keep up with inflation. Are you setting me up again?
Mm-hmm.
Multifamily can keep up with inflation. Everybody needs a place to live. It's pretty straightforward. These office buildings, they're long-term leases. I thought when I got into the office buildings that commercial real estate was pretty simple. You get them rented and you collect the rent. But it's almost as bad as apartments. These commercial tenants just come and go. You can't hardly believe it.
Wouldn't that be a good thing, though, in resetting your rents if your tenants aren't staying as long?
Well, right now, the rents aren't going up, so I have to re-rent it for about what I got for it before.
So to Mike's point, the tangible assets are not inflating currently,
Right.
A lot because of interest rates. There's a credit crunch, but also because rents, specifically in office, are not going up because there's just supply and demand metrics.
The technical issues aren't working, like you say.
Yeah, well, and it's because there's a difference between the income going up from inflation, because think of it this way: if we're printing more money, we are spending more money. One person's spending is one person's income. So if we're increasing our spending, we are technically increasing our income. If we're increasing our income, people can afford more for rent. And so on the income side of the property, that makes complete sense. But the valuation side is so tied to interest rates. And what we've seen since the 1990s is every decade, the mortgage rate has come down an entire point. So it went from 7% in the 90s to 6% in the 2000s to 5% in the 2010s to 4% in the 2020s. And it's just gone down, 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 and down. And so the performance of your buildings does not need to increase in order for the value of the buildings to increase. And the reason we saw mass appreciation is because we had both increase in income and lower interest rates, which lowered cap rates, which then capitalized the values to a much higher point. But right now we're in reverse. We're no longer on the 1 point downtrend. We are on we increased 3 points and went into a recession, and we are now tied to a value that doesn't exist. Meaning, we can have the incomes of the properties have not changed, but values have come down almost across the board in any commercial asset class just because of the way that it's underwritten.
And the income has actually at least mine has come down.
Correct. So we can get to a point where we have increased spending. We're printing money. We're spending more. Incomes are up. The performance of the buildings are better. The income is better. But if we don't have a reduction in interest rates, the values are still over leveraged. From an underwriting standpoint, the level of debt for a lot of buildings is still more than what it can afford. And so we still have a stalemate in the market where an increase in income may make a buyer more excited to pay a little bit more, but are they still bridging that gap to where sellers, is there capitulation in the market? Is anything actually loosening up? And so interest rates have to come down as well, or else we're stuck. And the thought process is right now we're printing, and the more that we continue to print as a political government, the less the Fed is going to, or the more the Fed needs to roll off its balance sheets. And so we have this opposite effect. And until until we stop printing, the Fed's never going to stop running off their balance sheet. And so our American debt is kind of leveled out, and the cost of our American debt won't go down unless something significantly changes.
What could significantly change to cause it to go down?
A recession, right? So a recession, a flee to safety, a war, something that would typically move money out of the bond market or out of hard assets into the bond market. And we've just seen those events multiple times over the past few years, and it hasn't happened. Where I think the best bet for real estate in the next 2 years is if the tariff negotiations result in tariff deals forcing other companies to buy our debt, specifically our long-term debt, to bring those rates down and have a guarantee that they'll hold it beyond maturity. So they lower the value of our debt, or the cost of our debt. They lower yields, lowering interest rates for us by bringing demand to the auctions in the short term, and then by reducing supply to the auctions in the long term by holding them to maturity.
Are you saying that in the tariff negotiations, if we can get other countries to be forced to buy our debt, they can replace what the Fed used to do by artificially buying our debt and propping up the market? Correct. By buying the debt,
which then allows the Fed to run off their balance sheet, effectively taking money out of.
So we're really in a big shift, because for the last 3 decades, like you talked about, we've been in an artificial environment where the Fed were dovish, and then they became extremely beyond dovish,
super hawkish,
and then suddenly they just flipped the switch 3 years ago, which puts us in the credit crunch where they just stop the flow of money, and we become like ultra hawkish. We went from one end of the spectrum to the other end of the spectrum.
Right.
So they won't stay. I mean, it depends on what happens globally in that, but I think that we're in a shift to where we're not going to manipulate those markets the same way that we did over the last 3 decades. We're going to try to manipulate them in a different way, and we don't know what that looks like.
Right. And if you look at the Fed balance sheet versus the actual M2 money supply, when the Fed shifted 3 years ago and they started reducing their balance sheet, the money supply was reducing. And that lines up with that first reduction at the pace of inflation. So inflation was the 8%. We get it down towards the 3%. But we've stagnated as we've gotten down. We've stagnated. And what's happened is the printing on the political side has increased. And M2 has increased while the Fed has lowered their balance sheet. And so that keeps us from reducing inflation even further. If we add more spending on top of it, increase more, now we're putting pressure onto the inflation side of it.
Phony money.
It is phony money. And so if the Fed has a position of, well, we need to continue to pull money out of the economy, there's too much in it, then the only way to bring our interest rates down is to have some other buyer buy it. And what's happened is the Fed has increased their buying and the Fed has increased their holding of American debt. Other countries have reduced their holding of American debt. And so I do believe the saving grace for everything to keep America what America has been the past 50, 60, 80 years is to force other countries to buy and hold our debt.
Yeah.
And the only tool we have to do that with, outside of wars, is our economy.
So you put big tariffs on them, and then you say, we'll back off the tariffs if you buy our debt.
Correct.
You think Trump will do that?
I think Scott Bassett is a very, very smart human being, a real estate developer, understands debt better than anyone. I think Peter Navarro is an idiot. Those are the two voices on the sides of Trump. Navarro's even crazier than Trump. Bassett's kind of hey, this is how we need to get it done. I think Bassett is the true guider of all this, but Navarro was this is the madman negotiation theory. This is the Godzilla tariffs to start off the trade war. We don't need to go into conspiracy theories about stock valuations and whatnot, but I do think that Bassett is the clear head, and I do think that buying debt is the ultimate goal, or having other countries buy it.
Sorry to hijack your episode, Paul, but this is very interesting. Does any of this matter to you? You don't care about any of this.
This is what he gets into.
Paul would call all this bullshit, though. He'd just go like, you guys are overthinking it. It's too technical. It's just trust me on this one. It's all going to come back and it's going to explode. And we're trying to figure out why it's going to explode and when.
Are you stealing my thunder?
No. Why am I?
You know, Mike, bottom line, I'm not as smart as you are. I have a degree in economics, and I found it all to be bullshit when I stumbled upon this inflation thing. I mean, what did I really learn, and what was practical? And I'm not as technical as you are. I've watched the cycles come and go, and maybe it looks to me like it comes down to real simple. It comes down to the prime rate. When the prime rate goes up, when the prime rate goes down, like you say, when the interest rate goes down, I think it's going to open the floodgates. All the other nuances that you geek out on, which I respect. Hey, don't get me wrong. And man, you're smart and you're good at it and it makes sense. I don't geek out on that. I keep it very simple. I'm just waiting for the prime rate to go back down, which it should. All the factors are there. So that's my take. Ultra simple. And I'm a simple guy, and I got a lot at stake, and to be positive, I have to keep it simple.
Is it a coincidence, in your opinion, that expenses went up right when rents went flat and interest rates went up? Like, to me, I think it's all connected. Like, because you were talking about for the last 3 decades, we had rents going up, we had expenses fairly flat, credit was sort of free flowing. I mean, it ebbed and flowed, but it was easy to borrow money. And we were in an ultra low interest rate environment. All of the things like the magic that Paul talks about holding in his hands, you need those ingredients to be able to hold that magic. When they flipped the switch, everything went the wrong way. Expenses started going up, rents went flat or went down, and interest rates went up. It all happened at the same time. So it's almost like, can one of those things move in tandem? Will they always move in tandem, or can they move separate from one another?
Can I suggest, when the shift comes, and I look at it as just a shift in the prime interest rate, then expenses are going to level. It happens the same way every time. Expenses level off, and rents start taking off. That's when you get increasing values and all that.
Yeah, I agree with that. Except 2008 modern monetary theory. We've never been here. We have never been in this position. We have not seen the prime rate go up and then back down to a significant amount since the Fed took their balance sheet from $1 trillion to $9 trillion.
Quantitative easing.
And so money is fake, but we've moved in 16, 17 years, we moved so much fake money out of government holding and private holding into bank holding that the bank decision has more impact than it ever has. And because we're going the opposite way, we got to the very lowest end of as we could possibly get from a yield standpoint. We lowered the rate to as low as it possibly could, kept it at 0, and printed as much money as we possibly could. That has to be undone. And the reason it affects real estate is we went to a low yield environment. So what you're just pointing to is everything was low yield, and it pushed cap rates. It put real estate into a different investment class. It put real estate cap rates on par with American debt. And so it changed how it values itself from a component standpoint. And so I 100% agree with you that spending's good and it will increase income. And so it's good for our buildings that are currently there to increase the income of those buildings. But that is not going to change the value of our buildings until we can get the amount of money in the economy at the right level.
2008, I loved through 2008. I saw the recession coming, and I hunkered down and I sold some property. And I waited for 2 years, and then I bought and got my name on everything I could. All I really knew was when the prime rate was going to come down, we were going to get an explosion of real estate after 2008, and we did. One day we woke up, and my properties are worth another 25 to 50%, and I don't know all the detail. I don't know all the nuances. I kept it simple and just tracked the prime rate. But when the prime rate went down, all I know is my properties exploded in value. And all your nuances are probably true. I guarantee you they're true. I mean, you're not missing a trick. But I got to stay positive, and I got to keep my energy up. And watching all those little details is too much of a head game for me, now that I think about it as a way to express it.
Yeah, I like it.
Rates aren't that far off, like from an agency perspective, right, of where they were, because we got a bunch of debt in 2020 at like 4.5 or so, and we're getting 5.5% debt right now.
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, on bigger stuff, you're still in the 6s on smaller stuff.
Yeah,
But I'm thinking like you can portfolio that and bundle it all together, too.
I think we've talked about this before. So you're buying a deal today and it pencils at the rates today. You're in a good position because in a few years when rates come down, it's only going to be better. And if rates go up, at least you're locked in and, hopefully they don't go up too much. But the stuff you were buying, if it barely penciled in 2022 and you're buying at 3.5%, 4%, and you've got some, you have notes coming due, or you're trying to figure out where you're at in that property from a value standpoint, you're in a little bit of trouble because things went the wrong way. Oh, Paul's pointing at himself.
And so that's the deleveraging. That's the extend and pretend, where none of that's going to happen until we get a re-leveraging, a re-basis of property. So what you're saying is if your basis is new and your basis is good, you're happy because rates go down, your property makes more. But if your basis is bad, rates going down doesn't necessarily bail you out. It might get you back to even. It doesn't get you ahead. And that's what I'm trying to get at is it's really good going forward. Like right now is a really good time to go forward because people are inactive. There isn't a lot of capitulation. And so you have to be a professional to transact. And so if you are transacting, it means you're getting good basis, or you're getting good terms, you're getting what you want. And that will be good moving forward. But we still have this something to work out of.
Yeah. And you're talking about recession, which it's interesting because we feel like we've been in a recession for the last couple of years. And from a technical standpoint, by the time they say we're in a recession, which I think they're about to do,
I thought we were already. They said we were in a recession.
They haven't announced it. We're officially in a recession, have they? I think the day they announce it, you can bet we've already started to come out of it.
I thought it was decline of GDP X amount of
2 quarters, 2 consecutive.
In one quarter, now we're going to have an increase of pretty big one.
We were in a recession like a year ago, 2 years ago, though. Technically,
they've not announced any recession.
No technical recession over the last 3 years.
Yeah,
but we've been saying we've been in one.
Certainly not during the Biden administration.
It's more. I think we feel like it's a recession to us, but it's really more the better term that Logan uses is a credit crunch. Like it's just when you can't borrow money, our industry just comes to a stop.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Paul. Who cares about all that stuff? I want to know all the information you have right now. If you were starting over and you wanted to 20x your current portfolio, same connection, same information, what would you do differently to build a much larger portfolio?
I would do just what I did. This spiritual principle. Somehow all these concepts came to me in college, studying it. I'm here because I couldn't do what I wanted to do. I wanted to get rich in the stock market. So I'm studying the stock market. I'm studying economic history. I'm studying money. And in all of that, I lost all my money in the stock market. So I'm looking at real estate. So I came out of college with this curious, burning desire to do real estate. So from day one, I believed in, the point being, from day one, I believed in inflation. From day one, I believed in printing money. From day one, it was simple. Get your name on real estate. Get your name on real estate as much as you can. And as I went along, I just kept adding a zero to the end of my portfolio. Started out with a $36,000 house. Now I'm doing $360,000 homes. So I wouldn't do anything different. I just bet against the system, protect yourself from your government, and get your name on all.
You're kind of betting with the system, because the system's rigged, and you know what they're doing, and they're going to drive asset values up, and so you're buying assets.
And see, that's another thing. I see it as all being rigged, and that's a whole story in its own right.
You took on some bad partners early on. We talked about that in your interview. For people listening that want to go back and listen to Paul, some of this is a repeat, but I think if you wanted to 20x today, if you wanted to start all over again and go faster and do 20x, I think you would have taken on partners and taken on the right partners, because you had bad partners.
What you have taught me, I had some really bad partners, some weird partners, and I swore no partners for years and years. And then I started partnering with Gabe, and what Gabe has taught me, the right partner can be magical. Like we were talking about earlier, joining positive energy that builds on each other, but it's got to be the right partner. And boy, that's got to be careful about all of that.
I'm asking because I was looking at like how Blackstone and BlackRock started, and I was just trying to see their asset schedule year over year. And BlackRock came off of Blackstone. First year did $1 billion worth of assets, but like Blackstone started with just 2 dudes building it up over time.
two plugged-in dudes, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they were. Well, I guess what
does that mean by plugged in?
They know all the right politicians.
Oh, I see.
Is he going Epstein on us?
No hot tub stories on this one, Paul.
But I'm just wondering, like, is it realistic for like us to own like $10 billion worth of real estate or $20 billion? And ChatGPT told me it was.
I think it's in your head. Paul already told you the answer. You're only confined by your imagination. If your brain cannot think that big, then no, you can't do it.
I started out thinking big. I was going to be a billionaire, do this, do that.
You'll be a billionaire.
And when I realized what it would take, that I would have to work with these weird partners, people that I didn't even like, and I'd never be home, and all I knew was one thing, real estate, I decided to be a big fish in a small pond and come home and just do my own thing, just answer to myself, nobody else. You know how much fun it is to answer to a doctor's wife that has no clue what she's talking about. Answer to my own self and be home at night and be able to go skiing or running. So for me, I wasn't willing to pay the cost to do that.
It's one of the reasons you stayed single for so long, too. Because you weren't actively looking for a life partner during those 2 or 3 decades, were you?
I was looking to get laid.
Do you talk about real estate with Donna?
Actually, I do.
What's she think?
She's on board and she trusts me and she lets me, gives me the freedom and the support.
Does she care about real estate?
She's learning to, yeah. That building that we just remodeled on Roth McGilchrist, with all the crystal and gold leaf paint, that's all her creation.
She likes to trick them out. Paul buys them, and then she tricks them out.
It's a unique advertising tool, but we're on the front page of the Statesman Journal doing that. Got a lot of free advertising. It's a different way to market property, but I'm a little desperate. This thing is 8,000 feet. You can't break it up. Mike, I got to show you around a little bit.
Yeah, he is.
Was this an ego investment?
No. I know it sounds like it. I know it looks like it.
When you bought McGilchrist Roth, I'm not talking about tricking the space out, but when you bought those buildings,
they were full, rented, with solid tenants that are never going to go anywhere.
But we talked about it, and you said you wouldn't buy that kind of a building unless you had a base. You were able to buy the building because you had built the base you had, and you wanted to own the building. You didn't necessarily buy it because you thought it was like the best investment you could possibly make. You wanted to own the 2 nicest buildings in downtown Salem.
No, I first off, my residential stuff, my apartments, help feed this. All I wanted to do was really get my name on real estate, and you're right to a point, get my name on real estate. Well, you know what? Some of these nice downtown office buildings is kind of sexy, but I try not to get my ego caught up in it. But really is kind of nice to go to Ritter's and have lunch in your own building.
So going back, would you?
So
not
maybe there is a little ego.
There's a little ego in there.
Damn it!
Yeah, there's
It's
some ego.
It's okay to have a little as long as you acknowledge it.
Because you went out and bought a bunch of ranches. That was definitely ego investing.
Yeah.
No, I was born and raised West Central Illinois stock farm. I always wanted a cattle ranch. And I went to Montana State University to one day have a cattle ranch in the Northwest. It's manifesting a dream. It's kind of taken some hair and some skin, but and here again, I don't know if ego is the word, but sure is satisfying.
Well, you built this empire,
dream,
and you're
right?
having fun with it.
Yeah.
There is nothing prettier than all of these cattle and these little baby calves just bouncing around on bright black cattle on bright green grass.
You made like $1 million insurance bet on if it would rain or not, right?
I did, and I lost.
It didn't rain, or it did rain?
It rained?
Let's see.
It did the opposite of what you thought?
Damn it, it rained. So we got good hay, but lousy insurance coverage.
Gotcha.
Oh.
The experts said we're going to have a dry year. Well, we didn't have a dry year. We had plenty of fire, but we didn't have a dry year. Anyway.
You buy insurance.
You guys keep goosing me. I'm sorry.
Drought. What was it? Drought insurance?
Yeah, it's drought insurance.
So you buy the drought insurance. If it doesn't rain, they write you a big check.
There's guys that bought ranches. There's little pockets where the specs somehow There's guys that's bought ranches, get big checks because they have a little drought in this little pocket.
So Paul, Gabe always tells me you did the biggest, you were a real estate broker for a day or so. You did the biggest deal in Oregon at that time, and then you gave up your license. Is that true?
For me, I didn't enjoy doing deals for other people. And somehow being a broker, you're trying to outmaneuver everybody else, especially on these big deals. Everybody knows about them. And then it was 5 major grocery anchored, 5 or 6 major grocery anchored shopping centers. And I think it was
you sold 5 shopping centers,
or maybe 6, all in one big
all
package.
in one portfolio.
Holy shit.
Actually, it was pretty remarkable, and it made the news and all that. And I should have had, in those days and in those numbers, I should have had $1 million fee, but I got half of that. Well,
What year was this?
Early 90s maybe.
So you're in the early
You're gonna
90s.
take $1 million
fee in the early 90s.
What is that worth today, Mike?
Oh, at least 2 or
A
3.
lot. Yeah. Probably 4.
But you only got $500,000. So you said, screw this. Give me my license back.
You can have my license. I want to go do my own thing.
Wasn't that a lot of money to you at that time? Because that's earlier on.
Actually, it was astonishing, and that's when I bid it the first time. But my energy's changing. That was part of my positive energy, and things starting to work for me and holding the energy. And I did one of the biggest deals in the state, and I just credited it to my head. Positive energy.
So how did you live? Because you bought a lot of properties with high leverage at the beginning that were cash flow negative, right? And you don't have other income coming in. So, like,
right.
what are you doing for now money that whole time?
Well, there's 2 ways to do this. One is build assets. The other one is have a cash flow business. Real estate is not a cash flow business. Real estate is an asset business. If you think you're going to get cash out of this real estate, you're in the wrong barn.
Your brother's doing it in Illinois, though, wasn't he? He had cash flow real estate when you were partnered with him.
Yeah, but he doesn't have a lot of debt. He can't handle it emotionally, so he pays down debt. So yes, he's got cash flow, but not when you start out.
Yeah. So how do you live?
Unless you put a lot down.
How'd you live? How did you just live on very little money?
What I live, I believe all I do is build assets. So what that means, I'm living off of inflation. As my properties increase in value, I refinance them. I take a check out of it, put it in my pocket, live on it, and go buy more real estate. That's how I've expanded my portfolio with inflation, increasing the value of a piece of property. I refinance it. I get $1 million property. I got a $500,000 loan on it. The property's now worth $2 million. I get $1.5 million loan on it. I put some of it in my pocket. I live off of it, and the rest of it I buy more real estate. And if you have $100 million double in value, why not have $200 million double in value? That's how if that explains how I do it. I just live on inflation.
But how do you do it when you're buying?
That's why I'm all wound up about. That's all I know.
Do you know what that is? That's Michael Saylor's Bitcoin strategy. That is
same strategy.
That is the
with
exact
Bitcoin.
same strategy. Yeah.
So how do you do that at the beginning though, when you're buying your first assets and then you're waiting for them to refi and you have no cash flows?
You want the truth?
Yeah, I think so.
I lived off of my wife.
Like Gabe.
You know what when your wife makes more money than you do, you know what the problem with that is?
Wait, you had a first wife before Donna?
Oh, yes. 22 years. She's hung with me through all of it until the plant started to
Wilt.
Yeah. When I say everything went to shit, I mean everything, including my marriage. It was amazing. But the problem with a wife that makes more money than you do, they don't make enough more money than you do.
What does that mean?
It wasn't enough.
It wasn't enough. Yeah.
How long did you live like that?
Oh, several years until I kind of got it going. And I started out with these doctors and I was able to buy some properties with them, some apartments, and I started living off of management fees. So
you were the asset manager taking the fees? Okay.
Did you ever...
But I started out living off of my wife.
Did you ever...
God bless her. And to this day, I love her. I've never forgot it, how supportive she was. Joan Kerley, ladies and gentlemen.
You loved her, but you got divorced anyway.
Well, we just quit talking. We just went in two different directions.
But
kind of sad.
But you're still friends.
Yeah.
That's nice of you. So was there ever a period of time where you were like saying to yourself, how is it that I'm a multimillionaire and I have no money? Like I'm living, like you're living in one of your fourplexes, you're eating, you weren't living in the life of luxury. Like you weren't living like a multimillionaire. You delayed gratification for years, maybe decades before you weren't living the life. Even when I met you, when you were...
I heard you were living in a fourplex driving a piece of shit car.
Yeah, he was in his early 60s driving a Toyota Tacoma, living in a fourplex when I met him.
Old Toyota too, right?
Yeah, I mean, he was not living fat like this. He met Donna, and Donna's like, hey, you're rich. You should go spend some of this money. Like, somebody had to come along and tell you that you were rich.
Actually, it did work that way. I'm so used to living on the edge, and every time I get extra dollar, reinvesting it, and never having any real money, that when she dropped into my life, she couldn't understand what was going on at all. And then she started to understand, Paul, I have a lot of money that goes through my hands every month, but do I get to retain it? No. So she drops into my life and tells me, hey, Paul, you really got a lot going. Why don't you start enjoying it? And then she has this lifestyle and this taste.
You and Trevor are the same person, I believe. I don't understand exactly what makes you guys want to be billionaires and own all the real estate if you're willing to live this life where everything just goes back into doubling down and owning more real estate. Like, what is the purpose of owning all the real estate if you're not going to go... It clearly was not in your mind to go live in the lap of luxury. You just wanted to do it for some reason.
I can think back in the past... between hits when I needed some clothes. Well, I don't have money to get some new clothes. I'll just wait. Honest to gosh. And I was living in my bachelor pad.
And that never made you think, oh, maybe I got into the wrong business. I should go do something else so I can have some new clothes? I mean, you just delay the gratification all the way out for decades.
And I'm still doing it. So now I've got a little different lifestyle and a wife that likes
to
live on.
We won't go into details about how different it is.
And I'm trying to regroup and have some money to live on.
What does your household spend a month on luxury?
He has $500,000 worth of gold flake paint on his ceiling, so he lives a much different lifestyle than he lived before.
We bought this mansion, well, during the last recession, 2011, we bought this big, huge home on Crestmont, and it had been let go, and we walked into it, and this will be nice, and I got this new wife, and so she started making some little changes, and within a couple of years, she spent about $1 million, and I didn't have the $1 million. And I'm out there scrambling and refinancing and playing the inflation game to the hilt. Anyway, we got a home that looks like a mansion full of art, but it was a pucker all the way through it. And so what's the answer? I don't quite understand. I just see that, and I'm trying to figure that out. I'm so used to living on the edge. I think it's so ingrained in me, and I want to change. I'm going to be 76. It's time I quit living on the edge. It's time I kind of enjoy this and have some cash flow and some real peace of mind, as opposed to looking to the next swing.
How are you going to do that? I think you're addicted to living on the edge. By the way, you're the one that coined the term Deal Junkies. That's why our podcast is called Deal Junkies. You are a deal junkie.
Yeah, I know.
This is all you want to do. You're not doing deals so that it can lead to some certain outcome. You're doing deals because that is the outcome you're looking for. You want to own more real estate.
There's something about the high of the deal that I just groove on. And then I get it, and I turn it over to my crew. I got a wonderful detailed people who clean up behind me. But it's the high of the deal that somehow just rattles my cage.
He likes to do deals.
Somehow rattles your
Somehow.
Do you think I should get rid of my broker license like you got rid of yours?
You use it. You seem to thrive on the interaction with people that I didn't. No, you're on a trajectory that I just truly respect. You're going to do so much better than I ever did, and do what works for you. And it seems to work beautifully for you.
I don't like doing other people's deals either. It's more fun to do our own.
There will come a day you'll have enough money where you can make that decision.
But you made way more money from buying your own deals than doing.
I played the inflation game. I keep mentioning that word.
Yeah.
That's why I'm so.
So
hung
that's
up
the
on
one
it.
thing that I've seen a lot of people in your position. I've met a lot of real estate investors in Portland. They're in your position, and I've met a lot of people, and they're kind of the common denominator is use debt wisely. The people that aren't, that were friends, and I met the friends of the people that were good with debt, and they were not good with debt where they didn't use debt.
OPM, other people's money.
But that's so debt creates inflation. Inflation pays off debt. That's why you have to use debt. And so you say you're playing the inflation game, but what you're saying is you just use debt wisely.
Paul, what if you're wrong and real estate does not inflate?
Then I'm fucked.
No, as long as you can get past this deleveraging, that's all. All right, we go to the next episode.
We'll just keep it rolling through one. Or
We can take a little break if you guys want.
Paul, do you have to pee? It's been an hour. So,
How long are these things?
as long as you want them to be.
We got a half hour.
All right.
All right, guys. Paul, thanks for being in the studio with us today. We're going to come back and we'll record a follow-up episode, but we always appreciate you spending some time with us and giving us your wisdom. It's been a fun ride.
I do get on a tangent, don't I?
And you didn't even talk about hot tubs this time.
But you can tell I love what I do. There's something about doing these deals, and
Let's talk about deals next then.
Yeah, we'll talk about
talk
deals. All right, guys. Thanks for listening to Deal Junkies. We'll see you next time.